man just came in and told me to put on the Tampa Bay Lightning game while I'm doing this. So I'm going to pull that up while you do your intro, and I'll let you know what the score is.
And hello, welcome to today's episode of Juicing the Numbers. I am your host, Joshua Tracy.
And I am Corwin Heller.
And today, Corwin, what are we talking about?
We are talking officially about the NFL draft, and more importantly, draft picks and their value.
Goddamn right. I will also be talking intermittently about whether or not James Paxton throws a complete game, because he has just thrown 8 innings of shutout baseball against the Red Sox, although he's at 110 pitches, and I'm very curious about what's going to happen with this. With an 8-0 lead, like, they might just let him do it.
Are they going to let James Paxton, who is very injury prone, go out there after 110 pitches just for a 9th inning? I mean, it's the Yankees against the Red Sox.
Has nothing to do with his
upper body.
It's less just like they've never been pitching injuries; they've always been weird injuries. Gotcha. So there's a chance. But anyway, yes, we're talking about the NFL draft. As we're ramping up forward, it's later this month, 10 days from now. As today's the 16th.
Yeah, I think so.
It's the
next
Thursday.
Friday. Next Thursday.
I thought it started Thursday, right?
It probably does.
Yeah, so then the 25th. So it's 9 days out from this. It'll be a mere 8 days or 6 days out from piece of shit laptop. It'll be a mere 7 days out from when we actually drop this on Thursday the 18th. And so we are going to have a series of NFL draft-related episodes coming out so that we can kind of just familiarize ourselves with what the draft is all about, who's going to be there, what teams are looking for, trades, what have you. You ready to go, big guy?
Before we begin, the
Yeah.
Tampa Bay Lightning and the Columbus Blue Jackets just went into intermission after the second period with Columbus up 4-3 with just 20 minutes left before they sweep the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Which I had predicted the exact opposite.
Yep. I think I picked them in 5 or 6.
You picked 5, yeah. I have it written down in the show notes. We can go back to it later.
I'm sure we'll do this when the playoffs are over and go into it.
Yeah, or at least when the finals are about to start so we can see how we did with who got there. But fuck. Yeah, so remember when we were talking about whether or not Torts might be on the hot seat?
Well,
I don't think
he is anymore.
Yeah. No. His seat is now ice cold.
So who do you want to start this off? You or me?
I feel like your shit's going to probably be better, and mine's not very long. So I think I'll start so we can close out with your thing.
Cool.
So before you open it, okay, what I did was I took every first round of the NFL draft from the year 2000's draft to the year 2010's draft. And I put all of it in a spreadsheet, and I counted up the total number of quarterbacks that were really each position that was drafted, the average position that they were drafted at, and then how much the average person at that position made in 2018. Just to get an idea of, like, because when we did our discussion of how do you gauge most valuable player in wins, with baseball it was easy. We had wins above replacement. In the NFL, we had a really fucking hard time, and we kind of just settled on money. Money being a good way of determining how you're going to determine value from an NFL player. So it's not perfect, and we can give plenty of caveats. I understand there's going to be lots of caveats with just giving money, but it's there. So, before you open it, what position do you think came up the most drafted position in the first round of the NFL draft, from at least from between 2000 and 2010?
So this is going to sound weird, but I'm going to guess. I'm going to guess offensive lineman, specifically offensive tackle.
No, but you are close. That is in the top 5. Give me one more guess, and then I'll just give you the answer.
I don't want to guess quarterback because that's kind of an obvious one, but I also don't think that it would be the top spot, so I'm going to go with edge rusher.
Also, no. Edge came in second. So between 2010, 2010, the most drafted position, 45 different wide receivers were drafted in the first round. Yeah. Second place was defensive end. I
absolutely believe that.
Yeah, and that's why one of the things I'm going to give caveats for with money is that some of these positions have more than one starter on the field at a given time, plus turnover rates. So it makes sense. Right. Defensive end was number 2 at 40. Running back was number 3, tied with cornerback for number 3 at 35. And then 5th was tackle at 33. And then quarterback was actually at 7th at 28, right behind defensive tackle at 32. So, yeah.
Yeah. I believe it. I mean, I think running back is what surprises me the most there, just because of how many have really not been avoided in the first round the past couple years after the whole Trent Richardson thing. I want to say in 2013, 2013 I'll say. But you got to remember before that it was a very, much more popular pick. I'm not surprised quarterback's not in the top 5 just because it's always the big name players getting picked at quarterback.
Right.
But there's never a whole bunch of depth. Like we had 5 last year, and that's insane. I'm sure we had 5 in 2004, I want to say, or just 4, but I could see why they're right around breaking into the top 5.
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of how you think of it bias, because you're so used to hearing are people going to take Goff or Wentz? Are people going to take Jameis Winston or Marcus Mariota? Are they going to take
Luck or RG3?
Right, or Darnold and Baker Mayfield. Mm-hmm. But what you don't hear is that, after the first 10 picks, which is where you're most likely to see a or several quarterbacks picked, I mean, there's a lot of other fucking names down there at the bottom of that list. Mm-hmm. So the bottom 5 positions, just because I feel like I usually do bottom 5 after I do top 5, with one single first round selection, what do you think the least selected position is?
Well, I'm going to guess that it's Sebastian Janikowski at
kicker.
It
is. He's the only fucking one, and he doesn't deserve to be there, but yeah.
Skill position, the specialist positions like kicker, punter, long snapper, if I actually had to guess, I would say that honestly, one of my guesses would probably be running back. But I would say safety, inside linebacker, center, defensive tackle, that kind of stuff.
Dude, you're on the nose. So the website I actually got all this from was the NFL's website itself, and they broke it down rather specifically and generally. I'm guessing it's based on how that player kind of declared or his skill set. So there's actually broken down between free safety and strong safety, both of which were not selected highly. There were 7 free safeties selected and 6 strong safeties selected. But yeah, the second least selected position with 2 first-round selections in the last 10 years, or in this 10-year span, inside linebacker, only twice. The more general position of offensive tackle, 4 times, which is tied with nose tackle, and then center, strong safety, and middle linebacker are all tied with 6 selections. Guard and full free safety tied with 7 selections. These are all the single-digit selections. So yeah, you were pretty on the nose with your guesses there.
Woo, woo. Redemption right there.
Truly. Do you have it up at this point, by the way?
I have it open. I don't have it up.
Yeah, just put it in front of you. We can talk about the earnings thing real quick, and then that's kind of really all I prepared. What?
I just opened it up to see Courtney Brown and LeVar Arrington staring right at me from the 2000 draft.
Dude, you know what I didn't realize about this 2000 draft? The Jets had 4 picks.
Yeah, they didn't do too great.
Well, Chad Pennington, but
Yeah.
he was their third choice. I mean, what a different time. And John Abraham was good too.
Sean Ellis wasn't.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't remember Sean Ellis, so he clearly wasn't. Same thing
Anthony
with
Beck
Anthony
definitely
Beck.
wasn't either.
Actually, I think
let's
Anthony
see.
Beck was at a meet and greet I went to once,
Plaxico Burress.
but like at a different day.
Man, this is weird looking at all these names. Sean Alexander's sticking out right there with Brian Urlacher.
They did not elect to pitch James Paxton for the ninth inning. Joe Harvey came in the game instead, which
I did
I
see
understand and I respect it, but I wanted to see a complete game shutout. Those are fun. Anyway, so
I just
let's
want
look
to
at.
point out the Penguins are down already. A goal.
I'm not surprised. They've had a very rough go of things.
Thanks
So,
for reminding me.
I mean,
All right, go
I
ahead.
brought it
go
up. I'm not the one that talked about it. So the NFL didn't have the earnings page, so I went to Spot Track to get these numbers. But they didn't break down the positions the same way. So there are 5 positions I just couldn't find anything on without being too like defensive backs average and 2018 earnings was like the highest because it was going with all of defensive backs instead of like just I don't really know what else to say. It's not a specific position, so it had like 4 or 5 guys in it, depending on how you want to break down a DB, and it just really threw the numbers off. So I went with the positions I could readily find, and unsurprisingly, quarterbacks led this with just under $16 million of average 2018 earnings. I guess per quarterback. Wide receiver came in second with 14.1. Defensive end came in third with 14.0. Cornerback came in fourth with 12.7, and then tackles came in fifth with 11.5. Is there anything that sticks out to you about that?
Not terribly.
Yeah, this feels pretty straightforward.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's just because I spend too much time looking at contracts that it all is just kind of numb to me.
Yeah,
Which
well,
I don't blame.
what?
I don't know. I'm bad with videos. Leave me alone.
All right, so you'll notice that some of these are some of the average draft positions are coded in green versus red versus nothing. So the ones that are coded in green are higher or lower, depending on how you want to think about numbers right now, than 16. So you drafted earlier than 16. If it's coded in red, it was you were drafted at an average later than the 20th pick. So, because what I was thinking was, is there any like excess value getting like lost somewhere here? Like, is there an advantage, or do things like are you picking a player you're expecting to contribute the most, and we're going to make that valuation based on the average amount of money that position gets? Because if you're willing to spend more money on that position, you think it's worth the money. So it would make sense to draft those positions higher, whereas lowerly draft positions, you're giving less of a less stock to. You're putting less of an investment in because you're using a later round pick, and you would expect those to have relatively a lower salary. Now, this has the caveat of, well, it would probably be cleaner if we had one team making all 32 picks instead of 30-ish teams making these 32 picks, because the Patriots don't have too much of a choice with where they draft, since they're going to get the last pick because they won the Super Bowl. But I think in general, yeah, I know. As like a general thing, it seems like just on the eye test, it does kind of line up, right?
Yeah.
Outside of cornerbacks.
Well, the thing is, I was just thinking about with quarterbacks is the way that the first round contract, basically their template works is quarterback or first round picks have a 5th year team option. So basically, if the player performs, the team can option them for a 5th year. So a lot of times, teams will draft quarterbacks super early on, And then as some quarterbacks may fall, other teams may trade back into the back end of the first round to be able to just grab a quarterback where you are going to have a fifth year of control before you have to give them a big free agency contract. So I think that may have dragged down the average draft position for them specifically.
That's super interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, so like you saw it last year with Lamar Jackson for the Ravens.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense as to why they did that then.
Yeah, Teddy Bridgewater too, back in the day. Teams will trade back up to the first round just to be able to have a quarterback that they can, have another year of cheap control over.
Wow. Yeah, that makes total sense.
Booyah! What I go from failing at saying a super basic idiom to being able to explain something interesting, full of surprises.
Yeah, you're all over the place. Just references. I mentioned the average draft position and didn't bring it up. The positions with the highest average draft position are inside linebacker at 10.5, quarterback at 11, strong safety at 11.7, offensive tackle at 12.5, and then tackle at 13.6. The only reason inside linebacker is that high is because there's only two fucking dudes there. So, sample size not being a factor, I think being a factor, quarterback's the real top dog there. And then the bottom four, the only ones that are actually coded in red. Center got drafted the latest at an average pick of 23.8, tight end at 22.7, guard at 21.4, and cornerback at 20.3.
The cornerback one does surprise me.
Corner or quarter? Corner. Yeah. It does. I'm wondering if because this is data from
early,
about 10 years ago now, 10 to 20 really, because I'm starting this in 2000 flat. I wonder if I did this with the 10 most recent years of data, we might see more corners drafted sooner since the air game has become such a bigger factor.
You beat me to it. I think that's exactly it. Yeah. Just because they weren't as valuable back in the day.
Yeah. The reason I wanted to do
maybe that's also why running back is so high.
Oh, that's a good point too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot. The reason I did it this way is in my initial thinking for the idea of this is I would see where some of the higher paid players in the spreadsheet I have are today with their contract, but that ended up just being way too much work. So I just didn't see a point in it. But yeah, all the same. That's all I really have. Unless there's anything else you want to extract from this.
How absolutely batshit insane the Raiders were for taking a kicker 17th overall.
Dude, that's just Al fucking Davis right there, man.
If someone did that today and it didn't work out to nearly the same level that it did with Seabass, they would be absolutely roasted, and their entire front office would be just put out of a job and would never work in the NFL again.
Roberto Aguayo. Yeah. I really do think it's worse. Because at least Sebastian Janikowski,
right?
Sebastian. Oh God, what's his last name? I just lost his name. Janikowski. At least Sebastian Janikowski panned out. You know, at least they have that to hang their hat on.
But it's such a more valuable pick, as we're about to go into.
No, I know, but would you rather have a bad positional pick that is going to be on your team for 15 years, or a significantly less bad positional pick of a guy you cut a season and a half later? But no one wins here. Really, that's
just imagine if Sebastian Janikowski didn't work out. Even if he was a good kicker, even if he didn't turn into one of the best kickers of our generation, and Chad Pennington and Sean Alexander were the next two picks off the board.
Wow. Yeah, that's not good.
That's not great.
I did not realize Plaxico Burress was drafted by the Steelers.
Yeah, he was the one who almost won us a Super Bowl, but it turned into Santonio Holmes. He was super good for us in our first Super Bowl that year.
I only remember him as being a Giant before a Jet.
Well, he got famous for being a giant, for sure.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like I don't even like. I had no clue he was a Steeler. But anyway, let's get into your thing.
All right, so a very popular metric for measuring how important one or how valuable one draft pick is to another. People always reference the Jimmy Johnson trade value chart, which was literally created by Jimmy Johnson in order to numerically give a value to draft picks that would be traded every single year. So he famously traded Herschel Walker after he put up, Pro Bowl, All-Pro numbers back in the 80s or 90s, I want to say, early 90s. Traded him for like 8 or 9 picks and ended up building, the Cowboys dynasty. He was also a very famous
trade
coach.
with the Vikings?
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
There are some great videos on that. I think SB Nation does one that's really great, just breaking down the draft tree that ended up becoming that trade. But regardless, he created this just chart of all picks 1 to 256, and just assigns each one a numerical value. So first overall pick is worth 3,000 points. The second pick is 2,600. And then it goes down, 2,200, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, blah, 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 all the way down until pick 256, which is worth 0.4. So roughly the first overall pick is worth 3,000 points. The first pick in the second round is worth 580. First pick in the third is 265. So you can kind of see how it tapers off as it goes down. People use this as essentially a Bible for a very long time. And nowadays, as analytics and more data and people just trying to think differently about how we value college prospects versus NFL veterans, people have kind of shied away from this. But it's still really the only go-to visual, actual physical numbers that we have to evaluate these. So I figured we could talk about this, maybe go over some pretty huge draft trades to kind of see how this would value them and how we personally would objectively, subjectively value them looking back in history.
Let's do it.
So also included with this, I made a handy little calculator, which basically you plug in the value for each one of the picks in a certain trade. It just adds up the value. I made it look pretty, but it's incredibly simple. So I figured why not start off with comparing to the value of Sebastian Janikowski to Roberto Aguayo. They weren't traded, but just to see what this kind of shit would be worth. So, Josh, you can follow along with me if you like, if you want to, be a part of the class.
Yeah. Let me pull up this very colorful spreadsheet. All right, what am I putting in and where?
So, I guess we'll make Team 1 Janikowski, Team 2 Aguayo. Seabass was taken with the 17th overall pick, right in the first round, which on this chart translates to 950 points. Roberto Aguayo was pick, I want to say 37 in the second round, which equates to 59 overall right here, which is worth 310 points. So because there's literally only one on each side, the calculator is pretty much useless. But basically, what it comes down to is the Seabass pick, even though it's a kicker in the first 2 rounds, is over 3 times as valuable as picking Roberto Aguayo in the second round. So it may not seem like a huge difference between the two, but that's a lot of value.
How many 7th round picks would you have to give up to get the first overall pick?
Let's say
you have the first pick of the 7th round.
First pick in the 7th round. Let's say
how many?
That's pick like 225 just because it's different every year.
Sure.
225 is worth 2.9 points.
2.9?
2.9.
Oh,
So why don't you do that math in your head and figure out how many 7th round picks would equal the first overall?
Okay, sure. So 950 divided by 2.9 is 325 point. What?
950 is the 17th overall pick, not the
fuck.
first overall pick.
First overall pick
3,000 points.
Oh, this is so much worse.
Over 3,000 7th round picks. This chart is not perfect. There's a reason why.
No. It wouldn't be over. It's 1,034.5. First 7th
What did I
round
say?
Picks. You said over 3,000 7th round picks.
Oh, yes, math.
Yeah. It's really, really bad math. Wow. Okay, let's move this up.
Hold on. How many 7th round picks would it actually take you to trade the first overall pick? Because there's no way
None.
you could get.
No, I would never do it. That's what I'm saying. I want to see what's the lowest you could go where it becomes a plausible question. So let's do it with the 6th. So what would be like a good spot for the first pick of the 6th round?
Let's say like pick 200.
Okay, so
let's do 199 because Tom Brady was tweeting about it today. 199.
199. So that's 12.8.
Yes.
Okay. So 3,000 divided by 12.8 is 234. So that's not getting done. All right, what's a good spot for the first pick of the 5th round?
Let's say like 140.
140.
Nice even number.
Okay, so that's 36 points. Okay. That's 83 5th round picks. All right, so the 4th round. What's a good spot for the 4th round?
Jesus. Let's just say it's going to end up being like pick 100.
So that's 100
Which
even.
is actually 100 points. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Way to go, Jimmy.
So that's 30. All right, so we're getting closer. We're getting there. 3rd round?
3rd round is going to be like
65?
Like 69.
Okay, so that's 245 points. So we could see a lot of good progress here. So that's
only 12 of those.
Would you, Lara, let me ask you now, 12 years worth of 3rd round picks? Would you do it?
I would do that, yeah.
You would trade the first overall pick for 12 years worth of thirds?
So if you think about it, as an owner, I would do that, not as a general manager, because
oh
there's a
God,
distinction.
no, not as a GM. Yeah, you're right.
As a GM, you're fighting for your job today.
Yes.
So you need those first overall players to make sure that you have job security. As an owner, you're giving up one draft pick. It's a first overall pick, so maybe in a weak draft class where you're not getting, a Saquon Barkley or type player, that's a free 3rd round pick. That's like the value is right there.
Would you do this if you were like let's say for some reason the Rams had the first overall pick this season? They're in a good spot. Like I know their cap space is a little bit wonky, but they're in a good spot with everything else. They don't need necessarily a first overall pick talent player, but 3rd round picks for 12 years. Would you make that trade if you were like the Rams?
I would make that pick.
You would make the trade, or you would take, or you would keep the pick.
I would take the 12 and a quarter 3rd round picks.
Yeah, I think you're right, because you're right. This is a one-time trade, so if your team didn't need the first overall talent, yeah, you're right. I could kind of see that.
Like having a guy like it, whether or not it's going to end up being Kyler Murray or not doesn't matter, because the Rams would have picked Joey Bosa anyway. No, Nick Bosa, sorry.
Yeah.
That might, like, Nick Bosa might be enough to put them over the edge for a Super Bowl. He's a tremendous player, but he's a rookie. He's going to be making a lot of money with the first overall pick. You're going to have to sign him in 5 years, which is still a long way off. But setting up your team 12 years in the future is definitely worth, the possibility of just having one really great player.
Yes, in just 12 years is just such a comical amount of time to have a free extra draft pick to either use or incorporate in trades. That's another thing. Is that you now have 12 additional picks over 12 years for just trades. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So, first overall pick of the second round. So, first pick of the second round. We're going to say 33 here? Okay.
Yeah,
that's
always
what
33.
I did. 5.2. Would you trade 5?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. As a GM, you would take 5 second round picks for the first overall.
So here's a crazy thing. Would you trade so let's say second overall pick. Would you trade 1.15 second overall picks for the first overall pick?
Would I trade 1.15 seconds
Right.
for first?
Actually, let's say like the 7th overall pick, just to make this math easier. And we don't.
Okay, I was going to say,
about,
I get where you're getting at, but I don't know how to answer.
The point
it.
is, like, you would never trade this first overall pick for like just a little bit more of a second round pick. But we actually could figure out the difference. Actually, that'll be my next question. Let's finish this one.
Yeah.
Would you trade the first overall pick for 2 7th overall picks? No discussion
7s.
of like who those individual players are.
So you were saying like this year's 7th pick and next year's 7th pick, right? That's how that would work.
Yes.
I'd say yes, honestly.
Yeah.
If I was
too.
if I was in a good spot, like the Jets this season, we wouldn't need the first. I'd like to have the first overall pick, and I kind of hope the Jets do draft someone with the third, because I just want to have premier talent on the team. I think we've earned it, but. If they wanted to make a trade and someone came out to us saying, hey, 2 top 10 first round picks, how do you really say no to that?
Unless your team desperately needs a quarterback and there's a great quarterback available.
True. Very true.
There's no reason. Like, the drop off from 1 to 7 is not that much when you really look at things. Drop off from like the first overall pick to like the first pick in like the 3rd or 4th round, that's a much different story. But,
yeah, if you're right, unless you need a quarterback, just based on like what the given positional needs of the top 7 picks are, top 7 teams are, you could possibly even end up getting your guy or adjacent positionally at 7 just fine.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, you're totally right.
So my follow-up question to that is the second overall pick. The second overall pick is worth 2,600 points, so 400 less. And the pick worth 400 points is pick 50, which is about halfway through the second round. Would you trade a mid-second and the second overall pick for the first overall pick? Or would you keep the first overall pick?
I would keep the first... So I don't think a GM would make the trade. I'm not sure I think I as a fan would be mad too, because I think the only reason I would say no is that there's name value that comes with the first overall pick. And I think while on its surface, it's an additional pick in the second round he didn't have. And unless you desperately needed the first overall pick, it's not a huge jump down. But we've seen less go for more. So just based on the context of what other trades have been, I probably wouldn't. Like the Jets gave up more than that to do to jump from 6 to 3 last year. So
what did they give up?
They swapped firsts, which is what this would be doing as well, and then they gave up 2 second round picks or a 3rd second round pick. It was a lot. I think it was 3 second round picks. It was a considerable amount of second round picks. I said 3. I'm going to stick with 3.
All right. So just to give this a different spin, let's use the actual players from the 2017 draft. So we've had 2 years to play in the NFL, and see if you would still make that trade.
Okay.
Would you rather have Myles Garrett or Mitchell Trubisky and Justin Evans out of Texas A&M, a free safety?
What team is he on right now?
The Buccaneers.
I have
I
no
wish
idea who
a
that
better.
is.
I wish a bigger name player landed at pick 50.
It's tough because you have to ask yourself, what team am I? I feel like Myles Garrett is better at his position than Trubisky is at his relative to the surrounding talent. Trubisky's not bad, but I guess he's not Myles Garrett good.
So let's actually use the 48th overall pick, just because it's a guy that I know you'll actually know.
Close enough, sure.
Joe Mixon.
Oh, okay. If I'm
Plus,
no, you know what?
Point,
I still keep the first overall pick.
50. So you'd rather have Myles Garrett, just to be clear, Myles Garrett over Mitchell Trubisky and Joe Mixon.
Yes, I would.
Okay. In this specific situation, as the Browns, see, it's hard to think about this and not think about this past year's class when they did exactly the same thing and got a quarterback in the first and a running back in the second. Man, it's hard. But I think at the time I definitely had Myles Garrett as such a dominant first overall pick, like by such a margin, and I wasn't a huge fan of Mitchell Trubisky. I actually had Pat Mahomes as my top overall quarterback, but no big deal. I probably would have kept Myles Garrett as well.
You bring up another interesting point, which is the only reason Trubisky even went second overall is because the Bears traded up to get him because they were worried about competition from other QB-needy teams stealing their spot with the San Francisco 49ers, because the Bears had the third overall pick and then traded up for the second overall pick. So, yeah, I'd keep Garrett. What's that face? The Penguins getting fucked?
Just looking at my my draft board last year for players I like, just not from last year, from 2017. I put like a top pick for what I wanted the Steelers to get, and I put Pat Mahomes in my top 5, just praying that he would fall. All right.
Yeah,
let's get back
boned,
to it.
Kid.
Well, I mean, I'm very happy with TJ Watt, but still.
All right. I want to use the calculator again. So let me ask you a question.
Okay.
All right. Would you take? Let's go with like the 5th overall pick. The 5th.
Okay.
So that's 1,700, right? Is that what I'm putting in pick 1? 1,700.
If I look at the chart, yeah, you would.
Okay.
No, the 5th overall, you would put 1,700 in pick 1. Yep.
Oh, I put pick 1.
Well, like team 1.
Oh, I see what you mean.
One.
I see what you mean. Yeah. Okay. So then, would you take that for? Let's go with pick. I want to make it something really stupid. 5 fifth round picks, 4 fourths,
Jesus Christ,
and 3/3.
So if you really want to, you can go outside of the boxes that I built there, and it will still add up for the total value, since you're having so many, or you could just add it up in your head.
I'm just gonna go with like that number. So you answer and rationalize while I add all these numbers up.
All right, can you give me the specifics again? The 5th overall pick for
5th overall pick for 3/3, 4 fourths, and 5 fifths. That feels like so much, but anyway.
Okay, so 3/3, 4 fourths, and 5 fifths.
Yeah.
For the 5th overall pick.
For the 5th overall pick.
If I'm the 5th overall pick, am I a 5th overall pick that was a terrible team that squeezed out a few wins, or a team that just underperformed beyond belief and just had a terrible season?
Oh, that's tough. You're like a 6-10 team, and you're not sure whether to make that worse or make it better.
Do I have a quarterback?
You have Andy Dalton.
Wow, that's basically a go fuck yourself because there's no options around. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I know.
If I had Andy Dalton, are these picks going to be in like this year's draft, or is it like spread out for like I'll have an extra fifth for 5 years?
Let's assume this bizarro team that's offering a trade with you just has all of these picks on hand.
Okay, that makes it a lot easier so that we don't have to do like present value formulas and shit like that.
Yeah.
Fuck. All right, that's. You know what? You want to know why I'm going to say no to this?
Yes.
Because if I'm a 6-10 team with Andy Dalton, I'm probably at least 9 or 10 win team with any other quarterback that I could draft at pick over 5th overall. And if I'm drafting 12 players, there's not enough room on my 53-man roster for me to fit 12 lower end players along with all the other draft picks I have in this draft.
So is Corwin officially saying no?
I'm going to keep the 5th overall pick.
Okay, so the 5th overall pick comes in at 1,700 points on its own, and I made this the for the third rounders. I offered up picks number 70, 71, 72, and then I did for the fourth rounders, I did picks 112, 113, 114, and 115, and then for the fifth rounders, I did picks number 139, 140, 141, 142, 143. And
so
that
early
does not
to mid-round
in,
picks in all these.
Yeah. That does not come into 1,700. That comes into 1150.5. So a decent amount less than the given value of the fifth overall. So I would say just based on these numbers here, GM Corwin probably makes the right call. So
that's why that's a big reason for why there's such a drop off after like the second into like third and fourth rounds.
Yeah, I was honestly,
you have to look at the opportunity cost.
Yeah,
right. The opportunity cost of having a ton of these picks and having to sign a bunch of mediocre guys. You got to cut other people to do that, and most of the time, those other people aren't better than a rookie fourth, fifth round pick.
If there was a football equivalent to wins above replacement, this would basically be it. Are you going to be signing talent that is better than what you already have on your bench? Because if it's not, then what's the fucking point?
Right.
So, yeah, because I was wondering, I wonder if just based on volume alone I can get there, which is why I went with so many of these picks. But, yeah, I mean, especially the fifth rounders is what really dragged it down. Those are just not worth anything. Right. At least relative really to trading for this specific pick. Like the difference in the first pick in the first round versus the first pick in the second round is like 2,500 points. The difference between the first pick in the fifth round and the first pick in the sixth round is like 15. Damn. Like it's a huge drop off. So something, unless you have any other questions on this specifically, I figured why not go back and look at some past trades that went on during the draft for solely draft picks. So we're not going to have the Herschel Walker draft in here because Herschel Walker at that point proved himself and there's as like a big time player and there's no way to put, a point total on him. So we're only going to use draft picks. I figured we could start off with the Sam Darnold pick last year, since that's closely tied to yourself. Could you actually bring that up? Because I'm going to bring up the rest of these that I have. The Sam Darnold trade? Yes. You got it, pal. Ooh. Some of these are going to be real fun to dig into, because they are pretty wild. But we'll go into that in a minute. All right, I'm pulling up the news story from NFL.com. While he's doing that, just a little update. Sorry. Go ahead. The Columbus Blue Jackets are up 4-3 on the Tampa Bay Lightning with less than 5 minutes remaining. I keep seeing your face just make these like wild reactions, and I'm like, oh, he's definitely watching the game. Yeah. Oh, do you like my shirt?
Is that the Expos?
Yeah, it is.
Then I love that shirt.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta wear it with my Vladdy jersey at some point. Vlad Guerrero
Can't wait for him
Sr.,
to come up.
the OG. First Anaheim Angel to ever go into the or player to go into the Hall of Fame as an Anaheim Angel, Vlad Guerrero Sr. Yeah, I think he's still the only one the team's ever had. I think he's the only person wearing an Angels hat in his Hall of Fame plaque.
Well, it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, but the Anaheim Angels have been around since like the 70s.
Right, but like you wouldn't expect that it was only like 2-3 years ago that many more would have the option to come in super.
Oh, I
late.
see what you're saying. Yeah. Oh man, that was all right. All right.
Okay.
So you want to hear the Jets
wait,
thing?
hold on. Before we go on, did you see the shit Gio Gonzalez said today about the Guerreros?
Yeah, I did. That was really funny.
So basically, this pitcher, Gio Gonzalez, who
Currently
pitched
playing
against
with
both
the,
Vlad
the,
Sr.
New York Yankees AAA affiliate Scranton Wilkes-Barre, which
Right.
plays the Toronto AAA affiliate in Buffalo, where Vlad Guerrero Jr. currently is.
Right. So he is the only player to have played against both of that father-son duo. And he was complaining about the Blue Jays not calling him up because he's, quote-unquote, sick of this damn family. I'm sure he didn't curse in his tweet, but whatever.
Was that a tweet? I thought he said that to an actual reporter.
Oh, it could have been. I just saw a
Either
tweet about
way.
it.
Either way, that's great.
Let's get back to it. So the Sam Darnold trade, what do we got?
Okay, so to move up from 6 to 3, the Jets are sending their 6th overall pick, 37th overall pick, and 49th overall pick.
All
and
right,
their
so
second
the
rounder
6th.
and their second rounder in 2019, which let me pull up what that is, and I can give you that overall pick as well.
I actually can pull it up right here.
Oh, do you have it up?
Well, I have my draft book for this year pulled up because I was looking at players earlier that we could compare it to, and then I realized you would not know any of these players.
You're very
see.
right.
Who did they trade up with?
Say again?
Who did they trade up with last year?
The Colts.
The Colts. So Indianapolis in the second round. The 34th overall pick.
Okay, so then we have all the picks. It's 6 overall, 34 overall, 37 overall, and 49.
So 34, 37, and 49 were the last three?
Yes, 6, 34, 37, and 49.
So pick 6 is worth 1,600 points. Pick 34 is worth 560. Pick 37 is worth 530. And pick 49, if I scroll down, is worth 410. Meanwhile, the third overall pick is worth 2,200 points. So in all, the Jets gave up 3,100 draft capital points for the Indianapolis Colts 2,200. Holy fucking shit.
I know. I was tapping on my laptop to try to get you to pay, but my microphone's this. Wow! Yeah. Wow!
Shit.
This game is fucking done. Lightning. This is gonna be the worst President's Trophy curse event I've ever seen. They tied
Holy
the NHL record for wins this season. Not just won the President's Trophy. They tied the NHL record for wins this season and got butt-fucked by Columbus.
They got fucking swept.
This must be the hardest Ohio's ever fucked up a national event since the last election. This is crazy. Oh, my God.
Jesus fucking Christ, Josh. Holy fuck.
You're welcome, America. Dude, this is some shit. Wow.
Oh.
Wow. I wonder if this
Do you even care if you're getting that first round pick anymore?
Fuck no.
Yeah.
Fuck that shit. This is great. Fuck the Lightning.
Fuck Torch being on the hot seat. This man's gonna get a fucking statue built of him, and
he's about to get that extension.
Columbus.
You said if he makes it to the second round, there's a shot he gets an extension. I think you might be right.
Yeah, I think he already inked it with his fucking dick as a pen, just dad dicking this Tampa Bay Lightning team.
Oh, you look at him on the bench. He's got the sassiest fucking smile on his face. He just pointed and smiled at somebody on the opposing team's bench. Oh man. I was not a fan of Torts as the head coach of the New York Rangers, but fuck it if he doesn't have just one of the most memeable personalities in the world.
Right?
Wow.
Oh, Jesus, this is phenomenal.
I can't believe this. Oh, jeez. And they're emptying it again? Yeah, you're down 3 goals with a minute left. Good fucking luck.
Good luck.
Yeah. Wow. I can't. All right. What were we saying?
We were going over the details of the Sam Darnold trade.
Should I leave that in?
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely leave that in.
Okay, continue. So tell me.
All right.
Tell me about the Sam Darnold trade.
Looking back at how this trade went down, being able to get Sam Darnold, who looks to be the quarterback of the future for the New York Jets, would you still make this trade, giving up what turns out to be the 6th, 34th, 37th, and 49th overall picks?
Well, I know we don't know what the 2019 pick is, but who did those other 3 picks turn out to be?
I'm glad you caught on, because that's exactly what I was doing while you had to step away for a moment. So it turned out that the picks here turned into Quentin Nelson, All-Pro as a rookie,
yes.
Darius Leonard, All-Pro as a rookie, and Dallas Goedert, who turns out as a pretty great second tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles. They also still have the 34th pick in this year's draft, who, without spoiling the next episode, is one of likely the top wide receivers in this year's draft.
Yeah, I still make the trade every day.
Really?
Dude, it's the Jets. We haven't had a franchise quarterback since... I like to say Chad Pennington. Everyone else likes to say Namath. I get that, but maybe it's just because I have such a soft spot in my heart for Chad. I mean, dude, this fan base would have fucking revolted if they didn't draft a quarterback. And that's where I think the context comes out. If this wasn't literally the Jets, and this was basically any other team, except maybe the Browns, who also desperately needed a functioning, possible cornerstone quarterback, then yeah, you would not make that trade. There was 2 All-Pros in there. But this is the Jets. Quarterback-deprived Jets.
Even if you still had the option to take any of the other top quarterbacks at pick 6, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, or Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, I wouldn't want any of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Rosen I kind of like, but, no big deal. That's fine.
I know. I'm still a believer of Josh Rosen's to an extent. Not to a high extent, not even to a low extent, because the situation in Arizona was so fucked, and they're screwing over everybody who was involved. But yeah, no, I'd still take Darnold every day. I'd still make this trade every day as a Jets fan, because Corwin, the fan base would have revolted if they did not take a quarterback. I mean, it would have been ugly.
Yeah. I mean, at the time, I definitely would have said looking back, I thought this was a great trade for both teams. I did think it was a little pricey for the Jets having 2 or 3 seconds with a first-round pick. I thought a first, the 6th overall, and 2 seconds would have been a good trade. I thought giving up a 3rd was a bit much, but at the end of the day, you got to get a quarterback. That's far and away the most important thing.
Especially when there's rumors floating around that your GM could be on the hot seat. You already brought up you need immediate success instead of future success. So, yeah, I mean, there's tons of context where this makes sense.
I agree. The trade calculator does not agree, because it views the 3rd overall pick at 2,200 points, while the 4-pick combination here is a whopping 3,100, which could have gotten them the 1st overall pick and Baker Mayfield. Although I don't think there's any way that the Browns would have made that pick to move back to 3 picks. There's no way.
Because also at the time, everyone thought the Giants were. Well, no, there was decent talk that the Giants were going to go quarterback instead of take Saquon Barkley. Like, there was a lot of talk that the Giants were not going to take a running back. So, the Browns wouldn't have.
I was one of those people saying that.
I mean, you and I were both telling Ethan like they should take a quarterback.
And looking back, despite my absolute and just utter game-breaking bias for Saquon Barkley and the atrocity that was the New York Giants this year, there is no question that Saquon Barkley should have fallen further and the Giants should have taken a quarterback.
Absolutely. They're in such a shitty spot now. But anyway, that's not the point of today.
People are questioning whether they're even going to take one this year, too. All right, so basically what I have here is I have a bunch of the biggest draft day trades involving solely draft picks, in the past recent history. Actually, it goes back quite a while. But what we can do is I'm going to give you the pick numbers. You can plug them into the calculator, and then we'll talk about the value there, and then I could give you the actual draft picks, or we could talk about the draft picks first, whether or not you'd make that trade, and then we could go into the actual value of it. It's up to you.
I don't care. Give me Let's go with numbers because I feel like the context of players is what changes it more than the actual numbers for valuation.
So numbers first, and then talk about who they were?
Yeah.
Okay. So this first one is the 5th overall pick. You want to plug these in as I give them to you?
Yes. Give me just 1 second so I can. I just need to empty out my calculator from the last bizarro draft suggestion I gave you.
All right. So the 5th overall pick. For the 12th overall pick, the 71st overall pick, let's see, the 107th, the 144, 179, 218, and then the following year's number 2 and 64. Number 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 2 and what?
64.
Jesus.
Yeah, this is just something else. I'm glad you don't recognize the trade.
This
even
is
though I'm not sure you
awful.
Yes. So
this isn't even close.
This is not close, and there's no way you should ever take the 5th overall pick here in any scenario. But give me the values of these two sides.
Well, it's come up several times so far. The 5th overall pick is worth 1,700 of these points. The accumulation of the other picks that you gave is 4,445 points. Literally over double the value of the 5th overall pick.
It is triple exactly, almost exactly.
Or sorry, no, yeah, you're right. It's about 2.5 times. I said double. It's about 2.5 times. Oh god, that's fucking ludicrous.
That's absolutely insane. Do you know who the 5th overall pick in this year, which happened to be 1999, was?
99. Is it someone famous? Like, is it someone I would know?
It's someone you would know. Infamously.
It's not Manning. Infamously. Was it Ryan Leaf?
It was not Ryan Leaf. Leaf went number 2 overall right after Peyton Manning.
Who is this?
This is Ricky Williams. To the New Orleans Saints.
Oh, it's this draft. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is so absolutely fucking bonkers. Like, this is it. Like, they traded their entire 1999 draft class, every single pick they had in 1999, plus the 2nd overall pick in 2000, as well as their third-round pick in 2000 for Ricky Williams.
That's just mind-blowing.
I'm not sure if
Just
everyone would recognize him. Ricky Williams was an absolutely tremendous all-pro running back. When he played in the NFL, he was honestly the best on the field, but he only played for like 3 or 4 seasons because he retired to be able to smoke weed and basically find himself religiously. Run Ricky Run is actually a tremendous 30 for 30 documentary on this, and I highly recommend it. But man, Ricky, that was an awful trade.
It's funny because that you could juxtapose the name of that 30 for 30 next to the podcast 30 for 30's episode on Ricky Henderson, which is Ricky Won't Quit.
That actually does kind of work out real well.
I know, right? All right. Yeah, but anyway.
So there's 2 more of these that I want to go into just because of the big names involved.
Shoot.
So if you clear out your calculator.
Yes, let me do that. Okay, go ahead.
All right, so this is the 2001 draft, so 2 years later. The first overall pick, 3,000 points.
Yep.
For picks number 5, which again is 1,700.
Yeah, next.
Pick 48.
1 second. Okay.
And pick 67.
And got it.
All right. So before I look at this, before Josh tells me the numbers for this, the first overall pick for a 5, a second rounder, and a third rounder. I mean, this is honestly kind of close, probably, I'm assuming. It really would depend on the players, but I feel like this one would be closer to a toss-up than a real steal.
What would you define as close? Like, how many points plus or minus is close and valued for you?
I would say like plus or minus like 500, depending on maybe not 500, maybe more like 300, depending on the kind of players and team needs that you have.
Then this is not close.
Fuck.
Yeah. So
I know the drop off between 3 and 5 or 1 and 5 is a lot, but you know.
Yeah. So the first overall pick is 3,000 points.
Yes.
The accumulation of the picks given up by the other team is 2,375 points. So a difference of 625 points.
Okay. So what if I told you that this was essentially Michael Vick in exchange for LaDainian Tomlinson and 2 wide receiver, or a wide receiver and a cornerback that doesn't matter because it's Michael Vick for LaDainian Tomlinson?
Oh man, that's tough. Fucking LaDainian Tomlinson was a Jet, and I met him, and that's really tough for me to ever not pick LaDainian Tomlinson. He's such a nice guy. I treasure that picture with him. But Michael Vick, if he didn't go to jail, damn. This is close, honestly. This is really close,
right? This is why I wanted to talk about it because
I really
ended
don't
up being
know.
Such a huge trade.
I don't know. I don't know who to pick because on the one hand, the Falcons were never good, ever, and Michael Vick made them relevant, which is a big deal. It doesn't seem like it now because the Falcons have been either good or on the precipice of good for like the past, ever since they got Matt Ryan.
Right.
So they've always kind of been relevant in recent years, but they were not. And like Michael Vick gave that team a reason to fucking exist, especially because the Falcons were notorious for trading away Brett Favre to the Packers, which was like, oh great, what a classic fucking Falcons move. So Vick was huge at the organization, but on the other hand, you have the Hall of Fame career of LaDainian Tomlinson, one of the greatest running backs of his generation, and possibly top 10 all time. Very well top 10 all time. So, oh fuck. I really don't know. I feel like this worked out well for both teams. Is that a pussy way out?
No, it's really not, because, I mean, they got 2 other players along with this, and you know what? You lose out on some value a little bit, but you got a Hall of Fame running back. I personally would give this in favor of Michael Vick and the Falcons just because of the positional value of getting just such an electric quarterback.
Very fair. Very, very fair.
But I love this trade. It's so cool to look at that Michael Vick was traded for LaDainian Tomlinson plus.
Yeah, I did not know that.
I didn't either until I started looking into this.
All right, give me your last one, and we'll close it out.
All right, this one is very fun. So, number 16.
Okay.
And number 75.
Okay.
For number 28.
28. Okay.
56.
Fuck, so much scrolling up and down. All right.
Yeah, I know. And 84.
And 84. Got it.
So just looking at this, like a mid-round first and a third rounder for a late first, a second, and a third, I'm probably going to take the side with more picks just because the drop-off from 16 to 28 talent-wise isn't crazy huge as you might imagine, and essentially just getting a second rounder out of it, that's okay by me. Again, having certain players here would change things, but I would take the 3 picks versus the 2.
Yeah, I probably would too. So the numbers, so team 1, the team giving up the what pick is that? The 16th pick plus 1
Mm-hmm.
versus that total is 1,215 points.
Mm-hmm.
Team 2, the team giving up 3 picks, their total is 1,170 points. So
not that far off.
45, which seems really, really
which is like equivalent to
nothing.
like the first pick in the 5th round. Like it's nothing.
Yeah, that is to be precise. It's pick 127. So yeah,
from the outside
no
looking
real
in,
value.
this is a very fair trade.
Yeah. It really kind of begs the question of why are they even doing this?
Well, I'll tell you why. So this was in
like,
1985. So this
Okay.
it is very player dependent. This ended up being Trevor Maddich, Ben Thomas, and Aubrey McMillan in exchange for Ricky Moore and a fella named Jerry Rice.
I was going to say 85. This has got to be Jerry Rice. Okay.
How would you look at this trade now, Josh?
Oh, someone got fucked.
Do you know why this is even the greatest trade ever?
Why?
Do you know what team traded away the pick that took Jerry Rice? I'll give you one wild guess.
I want to say the Falcons because we already brought them up. I'm going to say the Jets though because I know you don't like me.
Josh, I'm not here to hurt you. I do like you, and it is in fact the New England Patriots.
Oh, water tastes better. The sky is bluer. Grass just sprung up greener, baby. Fuck them.
Could you imagine the connection between Jerry Rice and a first, second, third year Tom Brady? Oh, that would have been brutal.
Yeah, no, that would be terrible. Yeah, fuck that shit. Look at the connection Tom Brady had with Chris fucking Hogan.
Imagine if Jerry Rice was able to hang around a few more years thanks to the ability to go to the Super Bowl every year, and they paired him up with a fella
imagine
named
Jerry
Randy
Rice
Moss.
with Drew Bledsoe in the '96 Super Bowl.
That would be fucking wild. But imagine Tom Brady with Jerry Rice and Randy Moss.
No, thank you.
Yeah, that'd be kind of unfair. 3 of the best players in the history of football.
Yeah, because it's super fair right now.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So, do you have any other closing thoughts on this wild idea we had here? Well, that
not really.
Jerry
I'm
Jones
excited.
Johnson had.
I'm excited to bring out this calculator again when the draft gets nearer or post-draft to discuss any trades that actually happened, just to see if we can, use this to parse out any other information that we can. But no, nothing immediate, nothing pressing.
I had a lot of fun with this. This was fun.
Yeah,
to break
I did
down.
too.
This was one of those that I've been looking forward to for a while. One of the original ideas we had when we talked about putting together this podcast. I'm glad we finally got a chance to do it.
Yeah, this is one I've been putting off because I was kind of afraid of it, but I had a really good time actually getting down to it.
All right, let's close her up.
All right. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at JuicingPod. It's JuicingPod. If you want to hit us up via email, you can do so at juicingthenumbers@gmail.com. And if you wanted to find our website, you can do so at juicingthenumbers.wixsite.com/website. Or just Google us, baby. That's how that shit works. Yeah, and until next Monday, y'all have a good one.
Peace.